Is Florida State worth all of this headache? Florida State's athletic director again going on the record talking about, these revenue splits. He tells On3 Sports, quote, "I make no bones about it," right? This is Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State. "I make no bones about it that we're the top brand in the conference." Well, somebody forgot to tell already Crown Clemson that. In all seriousness, you're telling me that you're Florida State and you believe you're the top brand in the ACC. Not in basketball, you're not. And I would say not in football, you're not. I mean, am I wrong about that? Like, no. You look at this statement, and Florida State Athletic Director Michael Alford continues, when you look at how they measure media contracts with household viewership and championships, we're driving that viewership for our conference at a high rate. Well, I don't know. You can look at this list right here, and you can see Florida State, you're 15th on that list.
And that's how I look at it.
Clemson's 10th. By the way, you might notice that there's a bunch of SEC and Big Ten teams ahead of you.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, Notre Dame's 6th. Texas is 8th. I know, Florida State, you're a fucking badass, but Texas is 8th. You're 15th. That's not like
the numbers don't add up.
But what I'm sitting here is that elite? Is Florida State worth all of this for not being an industry leader, for averaging 2 million views a game? But isn't this emblematic of the issues in the ACC? You're getting excited about 2 million views a game. And you know the worst part about this, if you just keep going down the list? Dude, what else do you see? Like Florida State at 15th, Nebraska, that's a Big Ten team. Michigan State's a Big Ten team. Texas A&M is an SEC team. Maryland is a Big Ten team. And Auburn down there in 20th is an SEC team. So this league truly is, in football anyway, this league truly is Clemson and then everybody else. Because the difference between Florida State at 15 and Maryland at 19, and again, Auburn at 1.86, not a whole lot. This league is all about Clemson, who's at 2.59 million. And I not to be redundant, is Florida State worth all of this headache? I don't, because you look at Brett McMurphy's tweet today, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, UNC, NC State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech are the Magnificent Seven.
Nice name.
Schools that have met in the past several months with lawyers examining the grant of rights to determine how unbreakable it is in the ACC. And by the way, The Athletic put out a piece that define the difference, as you read right here, between contract and grant of rights. Look at the second paragraph. In grant of rights, a school has given the conference something of value. It's media rights. But that has the conference. But what is the conference given the school? Because a contract is an offer and an acceptance and consideration, which means, hey, I'm offering you my grant of rights. You're offering me what's supposed to be reach, what's supposed to be revenue through my grant of rights to you.
Right.
Yeah, that didn't really work out for you.
Yeah, and I think that's the genesis of the ACC situation, is the ACC a football conference or a basketball conference? Is the ACC even one of the most relevant? Is the ACC a top 2 conference when it comes to the Power 5? Well, not exactly, right? We know it's the Big Ten and the SEC and basically everybody else. And the Big 12 has done some nice things here. The Big 12 is obviously advancing and progressing and doing everything you'd want to do, but it's not like the ACC is like some juggernaut of a Power 5 conference. And so when I see people saying, hey, like there are 7 teams that are ready to leave. Not that Brett said that, because he didn't, but there was a lot of noise on Twitter about how, hey, there are 7 teams that are ready to leave the ACC. When I see what Brett tweeted, right, and what we're being told, I hear, hey, these schools are trying to figure out how they can get into a better situation by, quote unquote, breaking that contract, if you will, if it even is a contract. And that's precisely the question if you're Florida State, if you're one of the schools in this tweet. Is our grant of rights actually a contract, or do we have a way to leave the grant of rights with our rights intact, our TV distribution rights intact? Because if we can get out of this thing and we can go to whatever conference, right? It's going to be different for every school involved, obviously. But if we can get to a better situation with our TV rights in our control, then we're good to go. But if it's a situation where, hey, great, you can leave the conference, but you don't have rights to the television portion of your game, what's the point?
Yeah, I think it is a real struggle, and I think it's one of those things where you just have to understand, I think, that this is who the college football world relies on now. Like if you are in the ACC, and if you are somebody that is, again, Clemson, if somebody should have an issue with this, is it not Clemson? Like, how is Clemson not the one that's upset about this? That's the struggle for me, because Clemson is the one that took you to the college football playoff. Clemson is the one that put Big Forehead at the top of the NFL draft, right? Like, Clemson's the one. Florida State has not been relevant since Bobby Bowden. Let's be very honest about this, whether it was Jimbo or anybody after Jimbo. Florida State's not been relevant. And if you look at basketball, Florida State's competitive in basketball, but they're supposed to be carried by football. And furthermore, one of the other, talking points about the ACC right now is who owns the state of Florida? And what is Florida State so pissed off about? Well, why is Florida State so upset? Because UCF got a superior TV deal in the Big 12. That's what Florida State's upset about. And by the way, let's make something very clear. The state of Florida is wide open for football. But I'm telling you, the preeminent program in that state should be Miami, but usually it's Florida. And you look at the Anthony Richardson saga in the NFL draft, I get it. I totally understand it. Florida State feels disrespected. But what has Florida State done over the last 15 years to earn your respect?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I can't get over. Like, I know where Florida State was. I have no idea where Florida State went and where they're going.
Yeah.
Because I don't see Florida State as some major factor. They don't bring in a massive amount of viewers or some overwhelming amount of viewers. I look at the news today, right? You look at the news today on the Raiola kid, the quarterback. Where did he end up? He went to Florida State, right? Because that's where all the best, football players in the country. I mean, Florida State, you're the best. No, he went to Georgia. He went to Georgia. The number one player in 2024, a quarterback, Dylan Raiola, son of Dominic Raiola, former NFL offensive lineman. Well, of course he went to Florida State. Never. He went to Georgia. And we told you, the number one safety in the portal last week, where did he go? He went to Alabama. Nobody's thinking about Florida State. Nobody's thinking about Miami.
Roll Tide!
Get out of here. Clemson, yes. Florida State, no. That's why the ACC stands for already crowned Clemson. It's their conference, bro. But when you look at the general conversation, and if you're a Big Ten fan, you should close your ears to this, because I think the Big Ten is probably the shallowest conference in the country when it comes to football. Right?
Yeah.
But you look at the ACC, ask yourself this question too, friends. Ask yourself this question. How many truly right now today, and let's just call it for the 2023 season, how many national championship contenders do you really have in the ACC? And furthermore, is there a single one in the Coastal, in the ACC Coastal? I don't think so. Are you telling me Carolina in football? No. Who's the best team in the Coastal? Probably Pitt. If we're being brutally honest, it's probably Pitt. Right? But it doesn't matter. I mean, the basketball schools playing football in the ACC Coastal, Carolina, Duke, Miami, a good basketball program, Virginia. Where did Va Tech go? Right? I mean,
Great question.
Do you guys understand in football? Virginia and Virginia Tech combined to win 6 games last year in college football.
Because it's garbage.
The Coastal's trash. And if we're really being honest, Florida State, and I know you're the greatest team anybody's ever seen, you were 5-3 last year. You're 5-3 last year. Who was the only dominant team? Clemson at 8-0.
But wait, I thought this was Florida State's conference.
No, apparently not.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
You're 6-2. You're Florida State's 5-3. Carolina's 6-2. Pitt 6-2. Duke 5-3. Or excuse me, Pitt 5-3. Duke 5-3. Like, you're not elite in football in that conference.
Yeah.
You're just not. And that's the ACC, where Clemson was 8-0.
We built this program on NIL.
So, again, I'll just go back to the Florida State athletic director. And I'll ask Michael Alford, bro, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? Because you know what he wants. You know what he wants.
I want it.
He wants unequal revenue sharing with this garbage that he gave to On3 Sports. He wants more revenue than, let's say, the Virginias.
Right.
He wants more revenue than Boston College, Wake Forest, NC State. But for what?
Yeah.
Oh, because you're bringing a whole mess of people more to the screen? You're not.
This argument kind of pans out properly in the Big Ten, right? Like if Ohio State made this argument, we really wouldn't even be batting an eye, right? Because the Big Ten is such a top-heavy two-team conference that it's like, okay, cool, yeah, obviously Ohio State is going to get more of a revenue share than Rutgers over here.
Or Northwestern, who's 1-11.
Yeah.
Right? You don't necessarily fight about the revenue split. Okay, I totally get that.
Yeah.
They're also making $100 million each on the top end. Clemson's making like 13 cents, and that's only if they sell out of popcorn. I don't disagree. Before we get to your comments, I want to make this clear too. I don't disagree that just about everybody in the ACC would like to blow that thing up.
Right. Yeah.
But I also totally agree that you guys were a bunch of jackwagons for signing a 79-year-old long fucking grant of rights at some minuscule number. And now you want to go to court and whine and cry because the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 all make more money than you.
I'm crying like a little girl.
Like, why sign, what was it, a 50-year grant of rights? Like, they're not out of that until 2036.
Yeah.
I said 2036.
The ink isn't dry yet.
Like, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
It's incredibly
Clearly,
dumb.
lots of people thought that was a good idea until the Big Ten went Big Tenning.
Man. And Florida State. The other thing that is so amazing to me, Florida State has done this to themselves. You understand that, right? Like, if you think of the great state of Florida.
Floridians, Florida man.
Right? You've been able to, at Florida, you've been able to put Anthony Richardson at the top of the NFL draft.
Yep.
Right? Like, shocking, but you got him there.
Yep.
Off the top of your head, who's the head coach? Who is the head coach at Florida State right now?
Hugh Janus.
Who is it? Do you know it's Mike Norvell? Do you know that? I don't think most people know that.
I think everyone knew who Jimbo was.
Well, yeah, and he's been terrible.
I agree. I completely agree. But I'm just saying, everyone knew who Jimbo was.
Right? Like,
you know?
it is remarkable to me that, listen to since Bobby Bowden,
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher, 106-83.
Okay, not terrible.
Fired Odell Haggins, 6-4. Willie Taggart, 21-9. 21-9. Mike Norvell, 34-18. Like, it's incredible to me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked by it. You coached 34 games and you only win 18 of them. At Florida State, Willie Taggart, 21 games coached, 9 wins. Is that Willie Taggart's fault or is that Florida State's fault? Because Willie Taggart had no business taking that job.
Hell no.
Right? Like, and again, the great state of Florida. Mario Cristobal at Miami.
You know.
Should he have gone? Oh, but he's coming home.
Oh, he's the son of Florida.
Mario, I mean, are you serious, bro? Like, I am shocked.
Hasn't been some revelation
That Mario Cristobal, I'm going home, bro. I'm going home. You were 5-7. Welcome home.
Because it's garbage.
Right? Like, you did this shit to yourself.
Dude.
And this is my struggle every day when we talk about BYU, like in our members only chat today. Oh man, BYU is going to shock the world. No, they're not. No.
10 wins, man.
Breaking news. BYU's not going to a bowl this season. Okay, cool.
Woo.
Got that off our brows. They're
All
not.
right.
If they win 6 games, Kalani Sitake should be president of the United States.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
Lavelle who? If they win 6 games.
Seriously.
If BYU, with that schedule, wins 6 games, Kalani Sitake, put the statue up now. Those little things on top of the temples, the gold dude with the hornet, rip them all down and put Kalani up there. Rip them all down and put Kalani up there. If they win 6 games.
Bro.
There's not a chance in, oh man, undefeated season coming up in the Big 12. No, bro.
Chill,
Dude.
bro.
Dude, it is too early for ayahuasca.
Dude.
Like, that or you have a time machine because you're 5 years down the road.
You know.
Okay, I feel better.
Good.
And
Excellent.
I haven't even had
Buckshot.
my bucked
guy
up yet.
hasn't even had bucked up yet.
I have not even had my Buckshot, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. We tell you every day.
Yeah.
And of course, we have it free for you. Let's go. Buckshot, watermelon, who's in? Look how small this
going
is.
in.
Look, this is awesome, you guys. It is high-powered energy in a shot.
Can you measure it?
100 grams of caffeine. You just knock that lid off of there. Cheers be with you, bruh. Done. That's it. 10 minutes from now, I'm going to have more mental clarity. I'm going to have a little more energy. God help you. It just works. That's the bottom line. You don't need some huge sugar-filled 32-ounce fountain drink to feel good, to think better, to operate.
Yeah.
You just need Buckshot from Bucked Up. And again, you guys, let me give it to you for free. Get 6 free samples of Buckshot right now in the description of this show below. You see them right there on the screen. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, whether it's Murica or Blood Raz, you name it.
Facts.
They're all awesome. And you look at the different flavor lineup there. Watermelon, Blood Raz, Blue Raz. I'm telling you guys, you can't go wrong. Now, again, I'm telling you the green one, which is watermelon, is just splendorific.
Yeah, it's the best one in my opinion.
So good.
For Buckshot.
And everybody's like, how many calories? The thing is, there's no calories. How much caffeine? 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So it's not going to wreck your sleep tonight if you take it to get you through the last 3 hours of the day. That's what it does. It just works. Bucked Up Energy. Get the free samples in the description below. And hey, look, if you need supplements, if you need collagen peptides, protein, pre-workout, high stim, low stim, the best energy drink in the business, get to buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off your purchase at buckedup.com. Let's get your comments right now. Kurt Peters, first one in today. Monty drinks so much Bucked Up, he pisses neon green. I mean, you're not wrong. You certainly are not wrong, sir. You're not wrong. Connor Johnson, and I'm not saying it's because of the... Whoa, what happened here, Connor Johnson? Connor's always stirring the pot on this show. You know. Too many comments, I can't find you. Bryce Martin, Monty coming in hot like Stone Cold. Stone. I love the way Vince McMahon says Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You know.
Did you get the Macho Man Savage drops?
No, I did not.
jerk.
No, I didn't. No.
We need those.
Yeah.
Truck Stop Gumby, 0 calories means you get to add your preferred choice of cocaine.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, dude.
I don't know about all that. Matt Hartley, ACC might be dead at the end of the deal, but rock solid for a decade is a great position. Miami and Florida State making less than UCF is the opposite. Like,
But
it is.
you agreed to a deal.
That's the
it.
ultimate hypocrisy in it. And again, this Brett McMurphy tweet today talking about, hey, what are the ACC schools doing? And by the way, we were emailing back and forth with Brett. We were trying to get him on the show, but he is at the ACC meetings.
Yeah.
So he is unable to make the show today. We're hoping to hook it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you look at this tweet from Brett, Clemson, FSU, Miami, UNC, NC State, Virginia Tech are the Magnificent Seven ACC schools. These schools, Ross Snellinger from Sports Illustrated, have met in the past several months with lawyers examining grant of rights to determine just how unbreakable it is. The ACC deal runs through 2036. I ask this question all the flipping time.
Right.
And it drives me crazy. Did you guys not think about this before you signed that grant of rights and then the extension? Because there was an extension on this deal as well. Did you really not think about the fact that the college football landscape would change?
Yeah, the ball breaker is before the extension was applied, this grant of rights in the ACC was through 2027. So I know that's still a couple years out, right? Like, obviously, you've still got some time there, 4 years or whatever it is. But that's a lot better than, 9 years or whatever it is. Like, I mean, it's just an incredible lapse in judgment. And the thing is, like, I could almost understand it if it was just FSU, just Florida State, right? Because they're the ones that are complaining. Hey, if it was just between Florida State and the ACC, this deal we're talking about, I could understand it. But you're talking about the whole conference signing this deal. You're talking about a grant of rights situation. And so the next obvious question or inference is, well, what are their options? Well, I think the first question on the table is how many teams does it take to break a grant of rights? And nobody has that confirmed yet. Most people believe it's 8 teams, but that's not confirmed. And so, Brett obviously today is tweeting about 7 teams. Most people believe you need an 8th team, number one. So that could be a potential number one issue. But number two, their only way out, based on the research we did, and we spent, 2.5 hours looking through and trying to figure out, okay, what are their options? Hey, their only option here is to try to wiggle out of the grant of rights, meaning their lawyers are going to have to go to court in a situation trying to fight this. You're going to have to go to court, and you're going to have to try and argue that a grant of rights is not an actual contract, because it comes down to this concept of essentially exchanging value, in the conference, because it's so crappy, has not given value back to the institutions. And so you have this 8th team question mark. You've got the question mark of, is the grant of rights actually an executable contract? And then thirdly, I think there's also this, and I kind of feel like this is fairyland, kind of dream scenario stuff, to be honest with you, but there's also this scenario where some people believe that hey, if you got enough teams, if you got, like, let's say like 90% of the conference, right? You got like 90% of your conference to say, nope, we're done with this, we're all leaving. That would then sort of just break down the conference. Because again, and this is kind of the Pac-12 thing that we've talked about so much, if your conference doesn't exist, you can't have a grant of rights.
Well, and I just keep going back to Florida State. I mean, my struggle is that Florida State, when's the last time Florida State was really relevant? Probably when did Bobby Bowden retire? Probably 2011. Jimbo had that Jameis Winston season. They went undefeated that year. That's the year they played like Wyoming or Boise in the middle, like Boise State in the middle of the season. And then they had that great shootout game against Auburn, if memory serves me right, to win the national championship. And
Bowden retired in 2010.
Okay, so Jimbo took over in 2010 then, I would assume.
Yes.
Right, so he has one great season. But what was that, 2013? It's 3 years in, so 2013. It's been 10 years.
Yeah, Jimbo was 2010 to 2017.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
You won a national championship and you made it, 4 more years? Like, that's incredible to me. And he'd been there a long, because remember how long he was like the coach in waiting. And
yes.
But my point is, you're bitching about unequal revenue when you haven't been relevant in 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. And you're like, And you look at the DeAndre Francois situation, and Florida State is just not relevant.
Don't play intramurals, brother.
Like, and I pity the fool in Mike Norvell, because I think Mike has tried, and I thought they were a much better program last year. But even that, you lose multiple games in a row in the middle of the season, and I mean, you're just gonna. And I should look up his career coaching record, but I mean, you're just not relevant. You're not a national powerhouse. Yeah. You're not the guy that should be carrying the torch of, hey, we're getting screwed. That should be Clemson. That's who should be carrying that torch, because they're the ones bringing all the eyes.
You're not
to
that guy, pal. Trust me.
Right?
You're not that guy.
Anyway, you can't lose. You can't lose. And by the way, you can't lose to Clemson and then say like, hey, man, this is our conference. It's not your conference. It's not. Right? It's not.
And
by the way,
look at it.
Looking at their schedule last year, you did lose badly to Wake Forest and North Carolina State. So let's not sit here and be like, hey, we won the Cheez-It Bowl, though.
Come on, bro.
Come on. As Jake likes to say, Cheez-Its are chips, not crackers.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think Florida State's relevant. That's just me. Bryce Martin, I remember Clemson and Florida State being the game of the year in the ACC, and FSU used to own Clemson. Used to, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I think that's too long ago.
Right, but then God built this program on name, image, and...
In God's name, image, and likeness. We built this program on NIL. It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
Matt Hartley, FSU is relevant in the sense that I liked watching from afar as they languished in terribleness.
Agreed.
Am I wrong about this, though? Am I being too harsh on Florida State?
I don't think you're being too harsh. I think being relevant is winning, right? Like if I said to you, hey, name me 5 college football programs at the top of all of college football right now. Well, it's easy, right? Alabama, Georgia, and have your pick after that, right? Like we can all make a case for different teams like Alabama, Georgia, SC, like
Ohio State, Michigan, TCU.
Like, right? Like you have this group of schools, as I like to say, the haves and the have-nots.
There's 5 or 6 schools every year that have a chance. There's going to be one of the 2 out of the Big Ten. They've got a shot at the national championship.
Yeah.
There's going to be wherever USC is, so in the Big Ten or the Pac-12, usually, and now with Lincoln there, and trust me what he's done in the portal and recruiting, he's got a chance to win a national championship this year, right? And then Clemson usually, even though Dabo's down a little bit, but how could you not be after the run that they had with Trevor Lawrence and company?
Yeah.
Okay. But then, I mean, it's Georgia or Alabama.
Todd!
And I would guess it's Alabama because Georgia has all these off-field problems this year. Like, the players.
Yes. Once
every decade, Notre Dame is going to, Manti Te'o's dead girlfriend's not going to be real, and they're going to compete and then get blown out by Alabama. It's what we do.
That's couldn't have said it better myself, bro. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's what we do. But is Florida State relevant? I think when you look at when you look at the grand scheme of college football, is Florida more relevant than Florida State? No. Probably not. Is Miami more relevant than any of them? Probably not. Now, is UCF in the Big 12 relevant? I don't know. Ask me in 5 years. They're in the same spot that BYU is. I don't think Cincinnati will ever be relevant in Big 12 football.
But if you're Florida State, isn't that precisely what pisses you off? Not just that UCF has this new TV thing, right, with the Big 12, but the fact that they were able to go out and do that, the fact that they were able to move conferences and get to a better situation. And it's like, hey, look, I understand why you're upset about that, but the reality is you signed a grant of rights, and then you signed an extension on that very same grant of rights. So what are we crying and moaning about a grant of rights situation that is not productive for them?
Do you guys understand? And I thought I misread it when I read it today. But do you understand On3 Sports' best point in that entire Florida State thing? They're $30 million behind the Big Ten.
This is a code 10 abort.
Right?
At a minimum. And it's probably $50 million.
Damn.
Carolina better start winning games. By the way, thank you, Brandon Butler. 10 memberships on the show.
Let's go, baby. Good start to the week right there. Let's go.
Thank you, Brandon Butler. As always, you're a rock star. Appreciate you for that. Awesome. Aaron Wilson gives a membership.
Let's go, Aaron. Good start to the week, my guy.
Appreciate you guys. Aaron, as always, you're a stud. If you guys would like to join, hit the like button. You would have gotten exclusive NBA draft news today in the Monty Show Instagram members only group today. I put a blurb in there about some draft stuff at the top of the draft that we'll talk about an hour from now. The group, and Brandon Butler's in there routinely railing on MLS and soccer, and Tanner's in there when he's smoking his ayahuasca. I know it's a tea and you drink it. When he's in there smoking his ayahuasca, talking about how BYU's winning a national championship this year. He's the super soaker for a reason.
Right.
I'm saying. BR says, I'm late coming in. What was the San Diego State bombshell that they owe $17 million today to leave? But on July 1st, it triples to $51 million.
Which effectively acts as a deadline for the Pac-12 to finally, at some point, get their TV deal done and expand and add San Diego State.
Whoops. Speaking of the Super Soaker, Tanner says Texas and Notre Dame have won in the past, which built their brands. Their current run of play is what has build their brands.
We built this program on NIL.
Well, I think their current run of play at Texas has been terrible. Vince Young in the modern era is the last time Texas was really relevant.
But look at Texas. Texas is a legacy school. Like Texas, even if they suck, it's still Texas.
And by the way, they took Bama to the limit last year, and they're in Tuscaloosa this year. So
Florida State, you're not Texas.
No.
Right? Like you can make a strong case that Florida is Texas. I can at least humor that conversation. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got you. But Florida State, you are not a legacy program. You are not Texas. You are not, any of those other, nameplate brands. You're just not. And I think that my biggest problem with this AD at Florida State running his mouth is this is not the same thing that a J.D. Wicker did, certainly. It's two different topics. It's two different conversations. But I kind of feel like you accomplished the same thing. I mean, what really did you accomplish by complaining? All you've accomplished here is to stir the pot and is to bring attention to what you're upset about rather than handling it internally and working with your other 8 or other 7 schools to figure out a plan.
But you want to talk about brand. Look at Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama had 2 losses by a combined 4 points last year. It was a disappointing season, and they had to take a look in the mirror and reconfigure the way they were going about their business.
Nick Saban is a better man than you are.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I thought you said 2 losses by 4 points, and it was a failure, Giannis.
That's the bottom line.
That's a brand. When you lost, and by the way, I'd remind you those 2 losses were to Tennessee 52-49.
Battle.
And LSU going for 2 in overtime 32-31.
Do you view this season as a failure?
And K-State, who I know was just everybody loves K-State. It's Manhattan, Kansas, and holy cow, they're the best thing ever until they got their ass beat by Bama 45-20 in the Sugar Bowl. Because Alabama should have been in the college football playoff.
Roll Tide!
And Ohio State should have been at home slurping balls.
Yeah.
But they weren't because they're Ohio State and it's a Big Ten and, it's Ohio State. Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a brand.
Yeah.
Florida State, Willie Taggart. Only lost by 20 this week.
Filling
All
in
right.
for somebody.
Anyway.
Boom. Out of here.
That's not a brand. That's not a brand.
No,
By
it's
the way,
not.
the signature win last year for Alabama, Austin Peay, November 19th, 34-0. That's when you knew they were good. Greg Hawkins, the newly appointed Father of the Year. Greg
Dude.
Hawkins had a baby. Congratulations. It's a boy. My man. I like K-State until I heard John Kurtz. Who's John Kurtz?